Hello and welcome to another episode of the Madison podcast, the #1 mortgage real estate podcast in the entire world. Is that true? Probably not. I'm your host, Ben Lavender, New York's favorite British mortgage broker. That is true because I win by default. We have a very special guest, good friend of mine, amazing realtor in the business, Sean Jackman, or as he doesn't actually know it, I call him Sean Jackman for his massively large biceps. But he knows it now. Sean, welcome on. Please forget that I introed you. Please introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are, what you do, why you are a G.
Yeah, so I'm Sean Jackman. I'm with HomeSmart Real Estate. Been doing this now for about 5 years. I actually met Ben when we were doing a little event a couple of years ago, and now I can't get rid of him. But he's still cool other than that. And I mean, go ahead.
What event was that?
That was the one that we did in Brooklyn. It was remember when we had the street?
Yes. At the it was near the Barclays Center in that store.
Yep.
And that was with Mike.
That was with Mike.
Yeah, good man, Mike. So yeah, wow, man, time really flies.
That was a while ago, right? That was what, like 2 years ago or so? 2 years?
Something. Yeah, maybe more, because I think I had more hair at the time, and I was wearing like this suit that I used to wear. I remember that was fun though. That was a good time. It's always fun to do like seminars and stuff because you actually meet people.
Yeah.
And get to actually interact with them. Whereas like. Because that was before COVID, I think.
That was before COVID.
Yeah, so like everything, even though like COVID is technically over, it still doesn't feel like it's over because there aren't as many in-person events as there used to be.
Right.
Right. They still have them,
but not as many. Everything is Zoom now.
Yeah, everything is Zoom. And the thing is, like, no one ever shows up for the Zooms. Even when they do show up for the Zooms, they're not paying attention.
Camera off.
Yeah, it's like, what are you scared of? Right? Like, show your face. We want to see your handsome face. So
talking about COVID, doesn't it feel like we just lost like 2 years? It's like
it does.
Absolutely nothing happened during that period.
Nothing. It's like the world kind of froze over.
Yeah, it did.
And I mean, well, with the exception though, so let's talk about that a little bit. Because our business, Sean, has been very, very interesting over the past 2.5 years, I'd say now. So what were you doing during COVID? I mean, were you smashing deals left and right? Were you on the phone? Like, what was your thing?
Well, initially, they told us we really couldn't do much business during COVID. So what I was doing, I was...
First half of 2020.
Right.
You couldn't make cold calls.
Couldn't do anything. No. So I was basically calling my sphere, staying on top of them, making sure everybody had what they had to do, and just building relationships. That's what I did during that period. So this way, once things did open back, I had business flowing.
Yeah, I felt that was August of 2020 when things really started picking up on the buying side.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
And it just exploded. It was absolutely crazy. And now, which we'll get to it in a little while, now's a different story, but the market's shifting. So, okay, so what did you find like the mindset of buyers was back then? It was just like crazy frenzy. They're sick of being like cooped up at home. They wanted something new.
Well, there was a couple of things. Interest rates were low. And I guess people who lived in the city, when the whole thing happened, they, being caught up inside of an apartment, can't go anywhere, don't have a yard to go. So everybody wanted to get away from that. So everybody started coming out east. So we had like an influx of people coming from the city with money coming to buy. So it was sick.
Long Island market blew up.
It blew up like crazy.
Like my split between the boroughs and the suburbs was pretty even back then. And then during COVID, it was like, I don't know, 80 to 90%, something like that, like suburb base. It was crazy.
Everybody was running out of the city.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even like upstate, too, had a lot of people taking loans, like that lived in affluent areas in the city and buying some like massive, I don't know, 5-acre plot of land with, a cottage and this and that. It's just everything changed. But people still hold those homes today, and they have actually retained their value. I don't think they keep going up, but, those areas are pretty stable. So, okay, so that worked well for you, Sean, because you do mostly Long Island.
That's
right?
correct.
So you live in Long Island, right?
I live in Long Island, and most of my work is done in Long Island, although I do a lot of work in Brooklyn and Queens, too, though.
Gotcha. From Brooklyn to Montauk, as they say. Well, do you go all the way out there?
Montauk?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The furthest I've gone so far was Mastic, and that was actually the deal that we closed earlier this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a long one. New construction.
Oh boy,
good times.
It took a year and change.
Yeah, I know. What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Need that CO. So, okay. So, Sean, tell us more about like the transition from COVID craziness to kind of now, like what you're seeing. What kind of changes are you seeing in the market? Not just from the buyer side, but from the seller side too. Because I'm seeing some transition stuff which people are scared of, but I think it's healthy, to be honest with you.
A lot of sellers are holding back now because they're scared they can't find some place to go. That's what I'm seeing, at least.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do they want to go?
I don't know. Because
like they want to sell, but they don't know where they want to move.
They want to sell, but they don't know how easy it would be for them to find something.
Okay, but like, what are they trying to go? Like out of state or stay?
Some out of state, some are looking to stay in state, but with how things are going, they really don't know what they're gonna do.
Okay, that's interesting. That's the first time I've heard that. They don't know where they want to go, so it's hard. So basically, they're sitting on the fence.
Right.
Okay. Do these people?
But it's still a strong market, though.
Yeah.
It's still a very strong market.
Well, because home prices are continuing to appreciate, which everyone thought that they would crash. I mean, you never know what the future holds. I just don't see the market crashing. But sure, they're not. The market's not appreciating 10, 11% year over year, but it's still, I think it's up like 5% from last year to this year. But I am seeing, and again, Sean, I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot of price cuts on properties, like 100K being sliced off because, the demand, the buyer demand was absolutely insane.
Right. And that's definitely slowed down.
Slowed down a lot, primarily because of the interest rate jump. Right. So this week, and it depends on what kind of deal. Like FHA loans are like in the mid 4s. Conventional, depending on the type of loan, is like low 5s to high 5s.
Right.
Right. Whereas some people, like I heard today, like another loan officer text me, he was like, he's in like the low 6s on some. So it depends where you go. But that is curtailing buyer demand, and therefore, because everyone's been like, yeah, home prices are going to continue to appreciate because supply cannot catch up with demand.
Right.
But if demand is decreasing, then you don't really have that problem. And I think on average, I don't know what it is now, but in the beginning of the year, there were maybe like 700,000-800,000 homes on the market for sale nationwide. Now it's closer to like 1.2 to 1.4, I think. So it's like it's evening out a little bit, which I think is healthy, because I don't see how people can legitimately afford to buy properties if they keep continuing to appreciate at this level. It's not realistic. So I think it's a good thing, Sean. What do you think?
No, I definitely think it's good, because that was one of my concerns from before. With prices going up, I kind of believe that more and more people couldn't sustain that, and it wasn't sustainable. So now that it's leveling out, that should be pretty decent for the market.
And Sean will personally fix the market himself. He's promised me.
That's what I do.
So Sean, let's talk some smack.
All right.
Right, talking smack is always fun. Yeah. This is when we take another swig of the drink. You guys don't know.
I would turn this around, sorry, but
I should charge for those. So tell us, because obviously you've given us some good insight as to what you see or what is transitioning in the business, but tell us about internally in the business. What type of people do you like interacting with? Like, for instance, if you're co-brokering a deal and you're the listing agent, like what type of buyer's agent do you want to work with as a listing agent? Because the reason why I bring that up is because from what a lot of realtors are telling me is that during the pandemic, where things were so crazy, they're remembering the agents that didn't respond, right, and were rude, and now all of a sudden the tables have turned. So give us your insight on that, if you will, and feel free to talk a little bit of smack.
No, well, I was going to say the best agents to deal with are the ones that communicate with you. I can't stand doing a deal and you actually get no kind of communication from the other side. I like to stay involved.
What kind of communication is that? Like on what matters in the transaction?
Well, I mean, any part. Like if there's any changes, any updates, in terms of if I ask you for something, I expect you to at least answer back and give me some sort of idea when things will happen. But there's some people that just don't do that.
Basic communication skills.
Which
I find like communication is the core of our business.
Yeah.
Which I know that sounds like, well, duh, right? Obviously, you need communication, but because things can move very slowly in our business, especially in New York, where it's not like out of state, where it takes 3-4 weeks to close a deal. Our contracts are usually 60-day closings, right?
Right.
So if you're waiting a week or two, you're turning like 60 days into 75 or 80 days, you know? So like being proactive and updating people throughout the transaction is imperative. Like that's why, you know, Laura, as you know, like will update you as the process continues.
Which is great, actually.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we have a full-time transaction updater that updates you on every milestone in the during the process. So the reason why I did that, Sean, is because I was doing it myself manually. But you know, as business goes up and down, and like you've got some days where your phone is blowing up and then other days where your phone isn't, I was like basically I was able to do it for a week and then I couldn't do it for another week because things were so crazy. So I was like, I need someone to do this full time. So that's really it. But the other reason is because the number one complaint that realtors have about loan officers is is what you just said. No communication.
No communication.
So, like, you shouldn't call us for an update on the appraisal. We should be telling you. We should be telling you when the loan's been approved. We should be telling you when the closing's been scheduled and where it is. That's what we do.
Which I can say you guys do really well with keeping people on top of that.
Appreciate it, man.
And I don't understand nowadays with communication. You can do everything from your cell phone, emails, telephone calls, text messages. There's no reason why you really can't get back to people.
It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
So, some people forget, and you have to. I try and give people the benefit of the doubt, right? No one's perfect. I'm sure, you know, I forget here and there to respond to something. You know, it happens, but having it as part of your process just makes it guaranteed. It makes it easier. So, like, when Laura updates you, she's not doing it from a personal cell phone. She types it. Right. So our software ties to the phone. This way it's easier. Right. So, but like you're not looking for that type of update from realtors or like someone that you're doing a deal with. You just want something basic.
Just something basic, yeah.
Yeah. So like a simple thing is a deal sheet, right? Like when an offer gets accepted with everyone's communication, it makes life 50 times easier for everyone. But I think for me it's on maybe 5% of transactions we get that.
So wait, everyone doesn't do a deal sheet?
No one does that. Or if they do, they don't copy the loan officer.
Which really?
Yeah, really, because it slows us down because we need, as you know, the realtor's full contact information. We need your licensing information, attorneys.
Right.
And it's like, you know, if you help us, we can help you. We can get the closing smoother. So easier said than done. Okay, so as a loan officer, Sean, I already know why you love us, but tell us what you hate when it comes to working with loan officers in general. Like what things turn you off. Give some guidance to our fellow loan officers that watch the podcast.
Well, the biggest problem for me, because what I like to give my like clients the best service, and if I refer someone, I expect them to do the same. Yep. And one of my biggest problems is just when they don't communicate. I mean, it all comes back to that.
Same thing.
Most of the time, people call me back asking me why the agent isn't calling them. If there's a change in the deal, why haven't they been updated? That's one of my biggest problems.
Like what kind of change in the deal?
Like if, say for instance, okay, prime example, say they were asked to give some additional documentation.
Got it.
They give the document, they send in the like documentation. Nobody updates them to let them know that they received it, that they're working on it. 2 weeks passed, they haven't heard anything. That sort of stuff is annoying. Just stay on top of them, let them know what's going on.
Got it. Simple. So it's just the same thing. It's just communication.
Exactly. It all comes back to that.
Okay. Next person on the hit list.
Going back to mortgage brokers.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I hate when they don't keep up their promises. Like, don't promise something that you can't fulfill.
Talking about like rates or closing costs.
Any part of it. It's just like I've dealt with a couple who the deals fell through because at the end of the day, just things just didn't work out the way it was supposed to, and I'm not saying any names, but I had to send them to someone else who was able to like close the deal. The same file, everything, but they were able to close it. The other one couldn't close it.
Yeah. Ridiculous, but it happens. But I'm not excusing them. I think it's just a problem in the business because it's not just the bank, it's the individual loan officer. So, for instance, that loan officer could be terrible but work for a great company. Meanwhile, if you sent it to another loan officer in that company, it would have been fine.
And that's what I ran into.
I wouldn't say I feel bad because it's the nature of the business, and when people are executing the most important transaction of their life, they have to do what they have to do to get the deal closed. I get it. It's just the disparity of skill from one loan officer to another can be absolutely tremendous. And especially so you're going to see more of this, by the way, because what's been happening is that there have been a tremendous amount of layoffs in the mortgage business, like tens of thousands of people being laid off over the past 7-8 months. So because of that, loan officers are getting more desperate, meaning they're looking to take any deal that they can get, and they'll basically overpromise in order to retain the deal so they can pay their bills, which is not... It is not an excuse by any means. It's a terrible and unethical thing to do. They should, these loan officers should check with the manager. So, like, I have newer guys on my team that have been licensed. Some have been licensed for 2 months, some have been licensed for 2 years, and I review every single deal with them. Like, you're not releasing a pre-approval until I sign off on it, because that's not just my name, but it's my company's name. We can't have that reputation out on the street, because it's like Madison closes quickly, they've got good rates, good service, yada yada, and that's what we have to maintain. So it's easier to do that when you're with a smaller team, right? You're in little sections, but as companies become absolutely massive, it's not as easy to do that. So what I did want to get into, Sean, was tell us about your experiences with attorneys. What do you like? What do you hate? Right? What do you expect with... Because I bring that up as well because I've actually had a lot of attorneys on recently, and I think we're going to get some more viewership, so you can teach them some lessons.
One of the biggest problems is when clients pick non-real estate attorneys to do their deals. That's the worst. Yeah. Because... they literally nitpick at everything that doesn't need to be nitpicked. Yeah. And
they're compensating for the fact that they don't do it regularly.
And they prolong the deals.
Lovely.
If not, cause them to, of course, fail again. So that's one of my problems. And communication again is key.
Too slow, lack of communication, nitpicking. Do you find that they kill deals?
They do.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Over what? Like
the stupidest thing, inspection reports. Those are primarily for the buyers to understand what they're buying, not necessarily to come and renegotiate the deal. But now they come in with a whole list of things that they want done, and they put into the buyers' heads that these things have to be done, when in fact most of the things on that list are basic things that you're going to find when you buy a house. Even if it's a brand new house, there's always going to be problems that have to be fixed. But they don't really teach them the proper things, and those cause deals to fail. Because now they're asking the sellers to go above and beyond for basic things. You know what I mean? So that's one of the issues that I have with them.
So they're just overkill.
Overkill.
Right, which is, home inspectors, for instance, can have the same reputation. It depends on who you speak to, right? Because, obviously, I don't think a home inspector should pretend like something that is an issue isn't an issue.
Exactly.
But that would just be unethical to do. But at the same time, tell them that some drywall that needs to be replaced isn't a reason to kill the deal or something.
Exactly.
I'm making that up. But it's all about how it's communicated, the importance of it. So,
yes.
So that's the key. Okay, so let's have you part some wisdom on the people, Sean. If buyers right now that are frustrated or concerned about getting into the market, what, if any, what advice do you have for them?
I basically tell buyers, don't wait, because one thing I hear from a lot of buyers, especially since the interest rates went up, they want to wait till the interest rates go back down again. We have no control over the rates. We don't know when the rates are going to go down. And actually, the rates are not high. If you really look back, interest rates have been over 10% in the past. Right now, the market is kind of balancing out. So I would say if you're in a position to buy now. It will definitely still benefit you because you're always going to get appreciation from like properties, so you're always going to benefit, and it's definitely better than renting. So I would definitely say don't wait for the interest rates to come back down. If you're going to buy now, and just like kind of get it done.
Got it. I 100% agree. Yeah, it's especially as appreciation is continuing to grow, right? Even though it is evening out a little bit, there still is tremendous demand.
Over 30 years, it's definitely going to go up.
Yeah, and they were saying, I mean, this statistic is from a while ago, though it might have changed now, that the builder supply won't be able to catch up with buyer demand for like 5 to 7 years. But that was like 6 months ago, so it's probably, now that demand has gone down, it's probably a little bit different. But either way, right, like the main thing to me is renting. If you're renting and you're spending $3,000 a month on rent, which is not uncommon in New York, why don't you spend that on a mortgage? And you've also got, like you said, appreciation, and you've got massive tax deduction through the property as well. And then not to mention, like, do you know what someone said to me a few months ago? Is that the main thing that they enjoyed about, like, this actually came from a realtor. It's like, it wasn't even about like the real estate or, you know, the appreciation and the finance aspect of it. It's like you have somewhere to call your own and create memories with your family, right? That's what it really was. He was just like, I should have done this years ago, man. Like, this, you know, I've been living in this apartment, and sure, it's been nice because it was a fairly big apartment, and he even had a backyard. He moved to an area which, you know, had quite a bit of space in the suburbs. And he was like, you know, this was silly. I should have done this years ago. So you got to think about the non-monetary, the non-financial aspects of it as well when it comes to buying, because people don't just buy because it's a good investment. People buy a home because they want to enjoy a home.
Which is true, yeah.
So you got to think about both. Okay, what about sellers that are concerned with the transition in the market? What advice or words of wisdom do you have for them?
This is the best time. There are buyers out there that are looking for your home, and you can probably get what you want for it plus. So this is definitely a really good time to start.
Sell your home. We need the inventory. Please.
I need work.
We need the inventory. The buyers need the inventory. That's for sure as well. So, okay, Sean. So thank you very much for coming on. Where can the people contact you, by the way?
Oh, you could reach me on my mobile, 718-812-5377.
Boom.
You can find me on social media on any platform, Sold by Sean J, and that's SEAN, Sold by Sean J.
In your face. We're out. Peace.